Russian APC, there's British tanks, Canadian tanks, and some German vehicles as well. Okay, what we're going to do right now... At this point, it asked the veterans to remain standing. There goes our green flag, Jeremy. What they did, there's just some superb stories here to be told. And again, as Canadians, we're often too modest to recognize that platform. It's basically a 3/4 ton platform. The Jeep that's leaving us, of course, they did make a later one for the Korean War. Eventually, the round-fendered one that looked like a CJ5. And the Dodge you're looking at now, there was the famous M series that Canadians and Americans made. I actually had one of those as well. Now, I'm going to call it a Bren gun carrier, and I'm allowed to because I owned one, is really called a universal carrier. These were made by Ford in Windsor. They got a flathead Ford V8 in them, and they have a Ford truck transmission. Farmers used to buy them, cut the armor off, so watch for those around. They're worth a lot of dough now. Again, they used to be $500 after the war. Now, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, some might be more. These are real beauties. I restored the armor on it, and it is now an operating carrier. These are still found in the bush. I don't know if he's here, but a fellow named Charlie Fitton actually used a military helicopter to rescue one. The big war. I hope I don't insult the poor thing, but they were very much outclassed and outgunned by the German. The Germans, of course, had been girding for war, and they had been secretly building up production of tanks when the Allies had considered World War I the sort of the final war. Bart's a really famous tank, and the Ontario regiments had Bart for a long, long time. Bart's been rebuilt a few times. These things, again, were sold for scrap in the 70s. Some people had the good sense to hang on to them. They're now worth a lot of money. And look at this old Mack behind us. The Mack would be hauling a float, and you see the winch on the Mack, it could haul military vehicles. There were some vehicles the military had that were monstrous, called Pacifics, that were actually able to go under fire. An old friend of mine, the late Ray Cross, was a member of Canadian Forces, and he belonged to what the Army guys called REME, or Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers. And did you know that during a battle, there's kind of like Army CAA guys? Not CIA, CAA. And they have mechanics that are ready to go into battle to recover vehicles. So there's lots of times that vehicles stall or won't start partway through a battle. And we actually had Canadian Forces members that were trained to go in under fire and get these vehicles going. A gun tractor. It was actually built here, only a few miles from here, kilometers, pick one, back in 1944. So again, part of the war effort. Those trucks were really storied and legendary. The CMP trucks were considered the toughest. They made a lot of different versions. They all had that same sort of pug nose on them. That one's a Chevy because it was built here, 6-cylinder straight six in it. And you can see that slant back, you know, those American slant back Hummers, they copied our stuff, eh? There you go. They had all kinds of different bodies on them in different sizes. This one was for hauling artillery. There's other ones that were troop carriers. I live up near Schaumburg, and there's actually a couple of them still in use. There's one in Holland Marsh I know of with a dump body on it the farmers still use. And there's another one with a crane body on it. There goes Fury again. The diesel Sherman. Just pulling up behind the Stuart. Bart's another diesel. Some of the engines were that they used in these tanks were absolutely massive radial gas engines. Now, these Shermans went on, actually. The Israeli Defense Force bought a bunch of them after the war. They repowered them with diesels. They upgraded the armor. One of the things that won the war, too, wasn't necessarily that always our stuff was the best, because frankly, it wasn't always. It's just the Canadian war effort was able to build tanks and trucks way faster than the Germans. Invented here. I didn't think you did that. And you think I'm joking? Well, I'm not really. Ian Fleming, that wrote it, actually went to a special spy school. It was called Camp X, and it was just south of us here in the shores of Lake Ontario. And this is where all the best spies in the Allies came for training. And of course we know now that the Allies, especially the Brits, just outsmarted miniature cameras that were used in World War II. Now, we're all here as guests too of the Ontario Regiment, and they have a long and storied history. antennas. That's basically the first aid and lost kitty department. So if you had somebody misplaced, we've got lots of staff here. They're on walkies. They can find them. We also have our cadets helping out. You'll see them along the fence here. And if you need some help with something, you can just approach the cadets. We have first aid people here as well. Now we also have some good news from CP24. I just checked with Jill Colton, our weather specialist. She says the weather's actually going to hold out till about 4 o'clock, which is really good timing because that's when the event is pretty much over. Now there's some other cool stuff here too. Anybody like that show, American Pickers or Canadian Pickers? I do. You see some cool stuff there. If you wonder about the military stuff, maybe you got something of granddad's or uncle's, or you found something in a flea market. We got one of those going on inside the museum garage. You know, in some ways, hey, that's good. We're going to surprise the Germans. We'll sneak up in the fog. Well, the Germans knew they were coming, and really it laid quite a trap. So the Canadians were basically going blind into a German trap. So that's what this smoke is supposed to represent. One of the universal carriers, as we know, had trouble, and that's what happens in the war. They get knocked out or they just quit. So we'll see what's going to happen. Again, keep in mind this was really, really foggy. So they've got their infantry here. They're getting ready to attack. Leo's the name of the steward. And there's Bart behind the Sherman. So they're briefing the guys here on the plan of attack. Well, there's a dispatch rider coming up. You can see some interesting firearms that Canadian soldiers are carrying as well. The great big rifles, Lee Enfield Mark IVs, they were actually, a lot of them were made in Long Branch, which is part of Toronto. The factory's gone probably about 30 years ago. And there's a soldier fairly close to me holding a pretty big gun with a bipod and a magazine sticking up. That was called a Bren gun. It was a light machine gun. A lot of those were made downtown in Liberty Village at an old moribund boiler factory, Inglis. Later made washing machines. The Germans knew they were coming. They've been watching as the Allies advanced, as the Canadians advanced. They knew the Canadians are tough. They actually talked about the Canadians after the war. A lot of the records were located where they were genuinely worried, far more worried about Canadian soldiers than they were about the American soldiers. Canadians were tough, battle-proven soldiers. Now get ready for some loud noise. That big gun on top of Bart is a Browning M2 HB. It's a 50 caliber machine gun. My favorite machine gun, by the way. Can't say that on TV. My boss will get mad, but it's true. It's loud, eh? The guy in the black shirt that's running it actually does a lot of Hollywood movies, by the way. Looks like they're buttoning down Bart. Whoa. Canadians are going to have to deal with that German machine gunner too. Ooh, hear that how fast it goes? Whoa! There goes Bart. That's Bart with a B. Now, hear that fast gun down at the north end? That's an MG42. It was called Hitler's buzzsaw. It was way faster than anything we had. The Americans copied it later in a gun they called the M60. Another squad is coming in from the south. Well, Germans are putting down some smoke. They're trying to get away. We're trying to flank them. Look across the field. There's a guy with a big bazooka thing. That's called Panzer Schreck. And it is very nasty anti-tank weapon the Germans had. And it could... We still have to take out that MG42. We can't go anywhere as long as these guys got their machine guns happening. Canadians are attacking. Watch the Canadians on the north, or in the west side there. And there we go. Well done, Canadians. Now another little piece of history. Some of those Germans ended up back here in Canada shortly after this in real life. Did you know just over in Coburg there was a POW camp, also in Gravenhurst. Right near the dock where the Seguin is, if you look off the point, you'll see a rocky point. That was actually a Nazi-grade camp where indoctrinated Nazis were. They were particularly nasty. And
Sometimes get up to 12 hits to kill them. You also hear every so often you hear clicking. What that is when you fire the machine gun and you're hitting the other tank, you'll hear it ting, 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 ting when it's hitting the tank. What we use that for is actually for aiming the tank.
They also had very high-tech sights that could see through sandstorms. They could hit stuff you couldn't even see. Totally outclassed and outdone the Iraqis. These things are just amazing. This one's nicknamed Grumpy. Hopefully it doesn't mean it doesn't have to go. We'll see what happens. These things are capable of great speed. They're very fast tanks. And again, that gun will electronically stay on target. And go off these things can just nail it one after the other. Actually, that's pretty good. Humvee. This is the armament version of the Humvee. It's used by the U.S. Marines during the Gulf War, fought through the Iraqi defenses into Kuwait City. It has a 50 caliber heavy machine gun and rotational roof mount. This one has bulletproof doors and glass, built in '85. It's one of the earlier models of American Humvees. In the armor. And they actually don't do all that well against major IEDs. They later have replaced those sort of things with various other heavier vehicles. But back then, they were the thing. Music plays. Have a look. There's Al up top, give him a wave. Some of these are actually better shape than they would have been in the war. They've been really, really well done. The restoration level is fantastic. Super, super accurate. Show if you bought something to have out here. You're going to go for lunch. Don't forget the 420 wing. There they are. They have lunch. They have adult beverages too. But during intermission, we've got.
Oh yeah, he did.